Hi, everybody. I'm Alex of Glasse Factory. Thank you for joining with us today. We'll be chatting with Dakota Ryley about her new single, Good For You. So to kick off the convo, can you tell us a bit about what the song is about?
Yeah, so we wrote this song basically about like the confidence that it takes to, let someone know that, you're feeling a certain way. And I think like we wrote it from a place of confidence. I think a lot of people, it takes them a little bit of time to tell the person that they're interested in, that they like them. And I'm kind of just like, F it, just tell them like life is really short. And that's kind of how the conversation got going. And we both added all of our like personal experiences into it, and then kind of just like rolled out that way. But it's basically a message to the person that you're interested in, saying like, I would be good for you, if only you would see that, like we'd be great together. So it's kind of how it all folded out.
So the song is based off personal experience then?
Yes, I for better or for worse, I'm a very honest person and upfront. And I think that, in the past when I was like a little kid and I had a crush, I'd be like, I like you. And it might not, go over well in like fifth grade and whatnot when you don't know how to use your filter. But now it's kind of like, getting it out in the open is a lot better than, just kind of keeping it in. And especially like I've been pleasantly surprised with this personal experience that I'm referring to, where I did say, I'm really interested in you. Like, I really think we'd be good together if we would just, give this a chance. And anyway, it ended up working out. So that was kind of like obviously a positive experience, but I think whether or not it ends up being a positive experience, you at least have that like comfort in knowing that you said the truth. So
Yeah, I feel like your song really just like has that kind of like summer love vibe where it's definitely like the excitement of like a new relationship, not really something that you're kind of like wondering, like you are wondering, but it's so new and just like refreshing and uplifting. So I think you did a great job of creating that experience for the listener.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's funny because, it's been 18 months of creating this song. And we've held on to it for a while because of that. I think it was like originally when I wrote it, we hadn't even been in quarantine yet. And so when we were thinking about releasing it, we were like, when do we think is the best time? And, now coming, more so out of quarantine and summer's starting, we just kind of felt like, this is the best time for it. And people in their teens and 20s resuming life and actually getting to, go out and meet people and find those love interests. And so
definitely. How did you get connected with Kendall Brower and Parker Matthews?
Yeah. So Kendall and I went to school together a while back. And then she actually kind of helped me when I was, just trying to write for myself. And her and I just, would just mess around with different ideas and sounds, and we would send each other songs that we really liked, or instruments that we liked in the song. And so through that, we've kind of just written together for the past couple of years. And when I have like a really like personal idea or like a fun idea, I pull Kendall in, because I think that she's just really good at creating like a positive feel for a song while also being really honest. So yeah, and her and I are actually like best friends, which is so funny, but we kind of separate like the creative side from, our friendship. And then Parker, I met through her, and he just absolutely killed it. So he's got, some work of his own, and he releases music with, another project, but, it's funny, the song started out very digitized. So, you hear horns in the song, you hear live drums, or at least live sounding drums, like it really changed from what it was. And that's just, it kind of came through just him and I getting to know each other, and him as the producer getting to know me. So he actually had some of the Clemson marching band play, and that's the horn section, which is so cool. Yeah. It's like the coolest thing I've ever done in a song.
How many people did you bring into the studio to record that then? How many marching band members did you have?
I think he had 3 or 4. So yeah, and it was I think almost a complete horn section. But you can hear it so clearly in the song. And I think like, really just working with him. You know, there was like a Bruno Mars song that came out, Leave the Door Open.
Mm-hmm.
Like eventually he ended up like sending that to me. And so like we've really gotten to know each other on that level of like, okay, if Dakota wants to write a song, what elements are we bringing to the table? Like what live instruments is she going to want? So yeah, like I said, it's been 18 months.
That's a long time.
It's been a long time. Yeah, for sure.
When did you start writing music?
I was 13, I think 12 or 13. I used to write poems a lot. And I like kind of knew piano. I took piano and guitar lessons and was better at piano. But I would write poems and then they would kind of just be sitting on my, piano stand. And then I just remember going up after school and just singing, random word, like just singing the poem, but in like a random melodic, frequencies, like nothing was the same. It was just like me singing random notes, like to the words. And then I like kind of worked on it a little bit more and I ended up with the same place I was taking guitar and piano. They had a songwriting instructor. So when I was really young, like 13, 14, 15, I would go in like once a week with her. Mm-hmm. And so she would kind of help me like structure it out. But yeah, in the beginning, it was like, I love you and you don't, that like very, very basic songwriting.
Would you say that your songwriting style is generally like more private and solo, or do you thrive through collaborating with other writers? Is there a certain style you prefer? Is it just totally up to the song?
Wow, that's a really good question. Honestly, like I write the same honest, like very direct and upfront myself as I do with other writers. And I think that there are just like different ways to say things that I wouldn't necessarily put on paper, that my other writers help with. So, like prime example, I would say, I know I can be good for you, but all of the lyrics leading up to that, I just see the good in you. I know I can be good for you. All that, the line, all that pent up energy and emotion, that's not, I probably would have written something different.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think it's really, I think that you can really see in art when like multiple perspectives have been brought into it, because that's not to say that like one person can't make something amazing solely based off their experience, but I think that you really make something that's like worldly when you do have other people in, because then, for example, if it's more like recognizable by people immediately, like it translates with them, then it's easier for you to expand as an artist, because so many people are relating to what you're doing, which is like so important in pop music.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all take inspiration from each other. And I think especially as the world's opening up, like I've just kind of started to listen to people. Like if someone's talking to me, instead of jumping in with what I have to say, unless I'm like very excited about something and I have to get it out, I'll just kind of listen. Like I think everyone has something to offer, and especially as like a artist that grew up, I guess, songwriting, it's like the more I listened, the more I experienced things, the more that I read, the more that I was able to write from either a different perspective or take in what others are saying, and that would help the writing process. So you're right. I mean, it's when you collaborate with people, they just bring to the table like their experience from a different lens.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What would you recommend aspiring songwriters to do in regards to networking? Because I feel like songwriting is still one of those areas where, unless you by chance discover Belmont or something, or like School of Rock, it's still kind of like a gray area for people looking to pave their own way. So if you could offer a piece of advice to anybody looking to really connect with others to work with, what would you recommend?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, like you could go to all the Belmont classes that you want. I think if you don't take it into your own hands and say, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to write for however many people. I want to write for pop. I want to write for indie. I want to write for rock and country. I liked going to Belmont. I think that being around musical people was great for the connections and whatnot, but I also thought I was going to do music business. I went to New York on a program that they have and came back and was like, I can't do this. I can't do music business.
Yeah.
But I went with the intention of being like, you know what? I know I'm in the songwriting program and that's kind of why I'm here. But there's a lot of people that technically get into the songwriting program, or, you know, they go to School of Rock and they work on whatever they're working on, but they end up not doing it, not pursuing it, because, you know, you have to find like the fire within, because it's really not that rewarding. So I would say don't compare that experience, because you like just go out and do whatever you think, you know, is going to help you be like, I connect with whoever you can. And I wouldn't say like to ever put yourself down if you don't have some background experience, because some of the people that do, they don't use it, you know? So like,
I love that.
yeah.
I really agree with that too. In regards to networking, have you been doing all your collaborations in real life for the past year? Have you been touching digital collaborations at all? Like Zoom sessions?
So we started out doing all Zoom. I did all Zoom from, let's see, we're in 2021. I did all Zoom from March 2020 to, I guess, like the fall or winter. Yeah, because over Christmas I still had some Zoom rights. And then like as the world has, you know, I have both vaccines, as the world's kind of gotten, you know, open, per se, I've done more in-house sessions, or like that weird in between time. I was going to sessions 6 feet apart with a mask, or people were getting tested before, like typical things that you were doing for, you know, real life. But
do you prefer to collaborate remotely or in real life? How would you rate the efficiency of collaborating through Zoom?
Real life. I don't know anyone actually personally that loved Zoom. We did it because we had to, and it was the safe thing to do. And I mean, COVID broke everyone's heart, I think, in some small way. But you know, at the same time, it's like when you hear your voice over the speaker in a room from a, you know, demo that you just cut that same day, it's just a different feeling. And I also know that producers have struggled a lot, because like they would play what they, you know, just created, either the loop or whatever, over Zoom, and there'd be a delay. So like if I was singing over it, they'd hear it back very off. So I think in person, it's like, you know, if you saw me perform on a live stream, I think it'd be different than if you saw me on stage somewhere. I think it applies to writing as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. So to get into a little bit of the nitty gritty about Good For You,
Yeah.
What inspired your instrumental choice in regards to production? Earlier, we touched on how light and like blissful it feels. And so I'd love to hear a bit more about how you selected that instruments.
Yeah. Have you ever listened to John Mayer's Continuum live album?
Not the live.
Okay. The live is like a whole new thing. It's a whole new, like you know, Neon and Gravity and all those really popular songs at the time, they just sound so much more like, what's the word? They just have more life behind them. And so I think like originally, I can even send it to you, like the original demo for this was all digitized. It was all digitized. I think Parker played guitar, and that was probably it.
Okay.
And I just remember being like, I don't love this song. And I was talking to Kendall, like, yeah, like you know, I'll be fully transparent. He knows that. I was like, I don't know if I love this song. And they were like, why? And I'm like, well, you know, the songs that I'd released prior, to be honest with you, like they had live instruments for sure, but they were definitely also, you know, pretty digital for the direction that I eventually want to go into. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to give you some ideas. And then ideas turned into this. And then I would send him, you know, I love Motown. Maybe we can use some live horns. And so like all the ideas just kind of started rolling out. And luckily, like he's really talented where he can put it together and not have it sound messy or crazy.
Who would you say are some of your favorite Motown singers? Anybody that inspires you?
Yes. The Supremes, I absolutely love their vocals. I've always loved their vocals. I love Luther Vandross. I love Barry White. I know they're a little bit more like R&B. I've always loved the Four Tops. I'm trying to think. Marvin Gaye, like, I'm trying to think who else. I have like a whole playlist.
I see now that you get along really well with Joe.
Yes, no, exactly. Like I really anyone that came through that time, like I was addicted to watching live performances as a kid. I would just search like Super Bowl halftime show, Michael Jackson, or Super Bowl halftime show, U2 or whoever. And I think Motown, like as a genre, that's what it was about. Like
Yeah.
when country was coming up, I know that live, instrumentation and live music was really important too, but Motown was all about like the feeling you got from how they performed on stage.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've taken a lot of that into consideration.
Did the South influence at all your love of Motown, or how were you introduced to Motown? Just at home, or was there anything about New York specifically that woke up that love for you?
I mean, it's so funny because I remember like years ago, I thought I was going to be a country singer, but I think that was directly influenced by being in Nashville.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up on country. Later in life, like, I started in high school listening to like Chris Stapleton and like, but those were always my favorite, like the bluesy country. Amos Lee, like he's not really even country. And he was one of my favorites. But yeah, I mean, my parents, my dad remembers to this day when I was 4 years old, and I know John Mayer is also blues, but he played Your Body is a Wonderland, and I was obsessed with the guitar on it, and I would like be like, Dad, the dance song.
Aw.
So like that was really early on, and then my parents would play like really old like early Beyonce tracks mixed in with Tony Braxton and the Emotions, the Supremes, all of that. Literally, I swear Luther Vandross was on every night. That was like my parents' favorite music to play.
Aw, so sweet. I
Yeah.
love that you guys had such like a family community around music. That's super
Yeah.
special.
It's what like you relate to as a kid, because I think, my siblings have good taste in music too, but it doesn't date quite as far back.
Yeah.
I think as a kid I was just like enamored with music in general and like being on stage and singing and performing and making my parents film me because I was like, please, I want to just perform for you.
Yeah.
I have nothing prepared, but I'll just stand up there.
On the release, you stated the song has been a pinnacle of my music evolution over the last year in our premiere that we have coming up. So, what has kept you motivated to keep the momentum of your evolution going and growing through this past year? Because aside from all the songs you've been putting out, I've definitely been seeing you get your name around with live streams, and as shows are coming back, you're hitting the ground running. So, tell us a little bit about what kept you going harder and stronger throughout the past year.
Oh, number one, you will never meet well, you might, but hopefully you don't. You'll never meet anyone that is as mean to themselves and hard on themselves as me. And it's something I'm working on every day. But I, through quarantine especially, was like, I'm doing nothing. Like, and so I've always had that competitive mindset where like, I'm not competing with anyone else, but truly just like I said, in my own growth and stuff. So there was that. And I think also, I released my first couple of songs and I was like, I love them. And, they did pretty well for what my expectations were originally. This feeling got, I think, over 80,000 plays organically, which was great, and I will never tear that down. I think that that's awesome. But good. I think, I mean, I was like, holy, this is amazing. But I think in this like second kind of wave of this artistry, it's like, what did I not do that will help me to get my name out there, get my music out there? And honestly, mostly it's the goal of like, I want to bring live music back into focus. And even if like I can't do it for other people, I at least want to do it for myself.
Mhm.
So every song that I'm releasing, hopefully you'll hear that it's going to sound almost exactly the same on stage.
Mhm.
Like, you know, and that's been the focus in the room writing. And now it's like on show days, like I, for a couple of my shows, have live drums, you know, we got the electric guitar. Hopefully I'll keep building as we go with bigger shows. And that's been the momentum. It's like I just want to get on stage. I'm not an artist where I want to just sit and have like videos filmed of my performances, and it's just not rewarding to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, you know, it's funny because previously recording live was the only way to do it. Now that everybody's gotten so comfortable with computers, I feel like it's a challenge to make something so live because there's this urge to be like, well, we could just like slip a little auto tune on there, not re-record it, or the drum timing, just like move the bass kick or like little things like that. So I think that's amazing. And are you tracking live with the band or individually?
So we're, most of the time it's like I'll do the song and then help the band members to learn it. And so I'm still like finessing that because obviously now that everyone's getting back into the swing of things, I'm like, I got to hold on to the people that have played with me and done really well. Because they're going to start getting gigs as well. So yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, it's just been a little bit of a process.
When is your album going to be released? Do you have a specific date yet? And what should fans keep out for in the rest of the year?
Yeah, so we have an EP coming out. It's going to be 5 songs with an interlude, and that will hopefully be coming out end of August is the goal. I'm almost done. It has taken so long, but I'm almost done. And I got to be patient. So that's definitely something to look out for. I've poured my absolute heart, not just me, everyone has poured their absolute heart into it. I have a song on there with a cellist, a violinist, live drums, live bass, a gospel vocalist in the background. Like it's taken a long time, and these songs are all over 18 months old. But when I release it, I'm hoping that, you know, this is just going to be like a really good representation of who I am as an artist in this like second wave. So definitely that. And then shows. I hope everyone can, you know, come watch me on stage and get together and just freaking watch live music.
Well, thank you so much for joining us to talk today about your new single, Good For You. It's been a pleasure, and you can check out the song in the bio below.
Yay. Thank you so much, Alex.